You say nukes aren't real. What about Hiroshima? Okay. Would you like me to get into nukes again? I can do that, and then I'll read the bear mail. Okay. According to reports on the ground of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, it was fire bombings, which is what they had been doing to Japan for years. America, there was a blackout where we weren't allowed to report on what happened there, and the people in America were only to get the report of one man who worked for the New York Times for 3 months who had a very small hat. For 3 straight months, all the information in America about Hiroshima and Nagasaki were from one person. Anyone else who reported on it, the punishment was death. You think our current internet problems are a problem? If anyone else reported on it, they were dead. Okay, so Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Oh, that's why Japan, took the knee. Quit the war. No. 72 hours after Nagasaki, Japan hadn't surrendered. Then 1.5 million Russians invaded Manchuria, breaking a treaty. They surrendered that afternoon. That was the reason Japan surrendered. That's a historical fact. It's not in your textbooks for a very specific reason. Okay, life on the ground in Hiroshima and Nagasaki returned to normal. There's obviously devastation. They were very bad bombs that were dropped. But there was no residual radiation whatsoever. Life came back, deer, vegetation came back immediately. The weapons have never been used again, and they're theoretically impossible, according to one of my buddies who is a nuclear physicist who wants to remain off record. They're theoretically impossible. They've never been used again. There's a ridiculous amount of wizardry involved in that very event, and they've been used to control nations ever since. We have a bigger one. We're going to spend $1 trillion on the mega super duper nuke. So then when I was a kid and during the Cold War, they would have us hide under our paper mache desks in case a nuke went off because we lived next to nuclear power plants. So it was like one of those things. You have a point there, Owen. There's no nuclear bombs. Well, what about all the tests outside of Nevada? Okay, 60 miles outside of Vegas, they did test after test after test where they just show cinematically, mushroom clouds reflecting off the glasses of a young actor. If there were nuclear bombs and the radiation poisoning thing was real, there would still be radioactive problems there. There isn't. None. Moab is very real. Nuclear power is real. Nuclear bombs is not real. And Oppenheimer and Einstein were 2 high-level, lying pieces of shit wizards. It's I have become death. It's just so dumb. And no one can see models. Dude, if you watch those old movies of like all the trees they're almost interchangeable with the Never-Ending Story graphics. It was claymation. Nuclear power is clean energy. Nuclear power is so clean that a lot of this stuff is based on, and everybody knows about The Simpsons and the pre-programming and all that. The reason that Homer does that uranium rod in his pants and blah, blah. Okay, I'll just give you a little homework and then I'll continue opening mail. Watch, what is his name? It's a weird name. I'm obsessed with the guy and I forget his name. He worked for General Electric nuclear power plants. He was their safety manager. He also worked in the Manhattan Project. What is the guy's name? Galen Windsor. Galen Windsor. Watch Galen Windsor eat uranium and how it's less poisonous than no-dose. Guys, I knew this growing up. Like there was people working at the plant that would be like, you can swim in the water. They would release the water into Lake Ontario and we would swim in it because it was warmer. There's no radiation poisoning. Radiation poisoning happens when you're radiated. Like, zzz, there's no radiation poisoning from this stuff. It's very low level. It's because, okay, here's something you can provably see. What was that called? It's a beautiful rain right now. Wow, I love a nice rain. Prohibition was lobbied by the Rockefellers because alcohol was an absolute alternative to oil. Want to know what else was? Uranium. That's why they made everyone think it was poisonous, and they controlled it to the degree where they have computers and testers to see if there's uranium around because it's so cheap. X-rays are more dangerous. Well, I mean, gamma rays are dangerous. It's just a bomb can't deliver it, and neither does the energy. The energy just warms water, and it turns turbines. Radiation is just energy. This is all radiation. Swam in radiation, came out with an 11-inch cock. Look up why pot became illegal. Oh, well, I know why pot became illegal. It's because of the guy that Citizen Kane was written about. He owned all these. Hearst, William Randolph Hearst owned all these forests that they were using pulp for paper, and cannabis or hemp was a better alternative for paper. And so he started calling it like Mexican weed and made black people rape white chicks and all that. Gammas are dangerous. Yeah, I know, gamma men. Hearst, yeah, that's all real. This happens all the time. That's why when people call you a conspiracy theorist, it's like our entire history is a series of conspiracies. What makes human beings so special is our ability to be so secretive and sneaky. It's a gift and a curse to be able to hatch a plan and trick and lie. What about Chernobyl? Fascinating that you bring that up. Chernobyl not only was not radioactive after, a group of women stayed and they thrived, and now it's like basically a wildlife sanctuary. You are being lied to all the time. What happened to Chernobyl? I don't know why it melted down. I know why 3 Mile Island melted down, because it was the 1-year anniversary of the China syndrome, and they melted it down on purpose. Galen Windsor talks about 3 Mile Island. They just shut off the safety of 3 Mile Island and melted it down on purpose on the 1-year anniversary of the China syndrome, which laid the foundation for nuclear paranoia. That's all real, man. It's like the China syndrome to scare the hell out of everybody. 1 year to the day. They have to show people. It's like a magic trick. You have to show people before the prestige. And they just shut off the safety. Galen Windsor talks about how, oh man, it's going in and out. How he could have stopped that meltdown by simply doing this with a lever. Just